So I have to kill you this turn.
I mean, that was always the case. Like, you're 6 cards in deck.
I'm just gonna attack the sales of crit.
One of us has to die here.
Hey everyone, this is Curb, and I bring you another standard match. Today we have a glitter matchup. We have the Ava being piloted by Steven from Bok to Bok Gaming on the left, and then on the right we do have my teammate Joshua once again playing his Kheios deck. So let's go ahead and see how these two glitter decks go off against each other. Definitely each with its own very distinct playstyle. We've got the Ava, which is definitely a bulky, long game kind of deck, and Kheios, which is very much kind of an OTK kill at first turn, first grade 3 turn kind of deck. So let's see which one of them can manage to get their thing done first and take the match. So of course we do see the grade 1 Ava being ridden, and then of course using its skill to grab the monster order, which is going to actually fetch us a PG, which is definitely going to be useful in this matchup. But unfortunately, PGs are not always the most useful against Kheios, because the only thing you can realistically PG on their kill turn is the Vanguard, which, you know, is definitely threatening on its own right because it does have a critical. And of course, the reason why you can't PG any of the rear guards is, of course, that rear guard right there, the Quen Li or Quen Lu or whatever her name is, which is giving guard restrict to those Makanis that are going to be swinging twice during that kill turn. As we do see the Vanguard being hit with a 15k trigger, a 2 to pass there. We took the first Makani, didn't get defensive, swung in the Vanguard, getting a critical trigger, giving the critical and the power to that other Makani on the other side, and then of course swinging that in, not going to be guarding because it is 26, and that is a 20k guard that you would have to commit to block that. So we are just going to be taking it, heading straight to 3, which is definitely a little bit worrying if you are the Ava player, because, you know, the faster Kheios gets you at higher damage, the harder it is for you to actually live. As we do see another PG off the top here. Potentially we could also get the wavy loss, but it looks like we're just going to pitch the wavy loss, because if you do actually get 2 orders, you add one to your hand and you send the order to the drop zone. Theoretically, you could also tap that order and, you know, put the wavy loss back into the order zone, but there's really no reason to actually do that. Anyways, calling another wavy loss here, and just going to be soul blasting the 2 to draw another card, pushing it up to rush a little bit of our own, because definitely you do need to get, you know, things rolling, because Kheios, while it is a very strong and huge burst of power deck, it is also somewhat fragile in the sense that if you can, you know, deal it a decent amount of damage in the early game, and you're able to survive their first grade 3 turn, chances are you can probably close things out during your next turn. As we do see the grade 1 Kheios being ridden here, checking the top 2, getting the normal unit there, and then putting the trigger on the bottom here. We did discard a Lemaine here, so we do kind of have to decide what we want to Soul Blast here. We probably don't want to Soul Blast a Kheios because we do have access to the order, and the order is going to be counting the number of Kheioses you have in Soul, which is why Kheios does have to actually play its own ride line, just because you do need those names. But it looks like we are actually Soul Blasting out the starter in order to use the Lemaine there. Definitely not like the most ideal choice, but you know, free advantage is free advantage, and Kheios definitely needs as much as it can get. We're just going to be swinging at the Vanguard for another 10k, throwing down another 15k block there, as we do swing for another 16 block by yet another 15k block. Definitely very understandable. Like, you're already at 3 damage, you need to keep the damage as much of a minimum as you possibly can. Anyways, we are going to be playing the World is a Blue Research Lab there in our typical turn 3 play, getting an Obscudate off there, which is pretty big because that is a 2 crit attack, and that is definitely going to help you either like tear cards out of the Kheios player's hand, or, you know, push for a decent amount of damage there. But at the same time, Kheios is still at 0, so they can actually afford to, you know, just take a whole bunch of damage in this turn and not really be sweating it. As we do see, I believe, is that, oh yeah, we're going to be using the Imgar from the drop zone, or was it called for man? I wasn't paying attention, but anyways, Imgar is going to be called. We're going to be using its skill to call the Pip Ava, getting the Blue Research Lab straight out of the deck. We aren't actually going to be able to access Persona Ride, just because, you know, that's what Imgar does, because we rode up to grade 3 this turn. Board's not looking the greatest, I would say. We do have the Wavy Loss there that is now at 13k, so it can hit unboosted. So we kind of have to decide, do we want to be able to do we want to hit for 3 times or just the 4 times? So we're going to be Soul Blasting 1, giving the 5k from the Blue Razor Staff. Looks like we're going to go for those 4 attacks, swinging the 13 in at that Makani, just getting it out off the board. Definitely a really good magic number for that, as we do swing this Pip Ava for a not too big 18. Like, it's a still sizable number, but you're totally safe just taking this. The only thing that really is threatening is if they hit crit OT, in which case I think you kind of just die. But, you know, deck's still pretty thick. Chances of that happening are not super high. But looks like we're just going to be taking it. We hit a front trigger, which is also pretty big, because remember, both these obfuscates are swinging for 2 damage. That is just going to be 1 damage. We're going to swing this first obfuscate for 38. Just going to be taking it, hoping for defensive. We do see one here. So it's us obfuscate, which is swinging for 38. 2 damage. That is still going to be a 20k guard, guarding with a trigger, as well as a Biscotti here. Energy blasting the 3 in order to just draw the extra card there. So it does kind of suck that we weren't able to use it to, you know, discard to ride up. But, you know, surviving and keeping your damage low is just, you know, just as important. So we do kind of have to think about what we want to discard here. Looks like we're discarding a copy of that Quinlu. Energy charging 3, riding into the Kheios, of course, there. Now, I don't think we're quite at 13 cards in Soul, so we do kind of have to think about how we are going to be getting there. Looks like we forgot to energy charge from last turn, and we did, of course, use the Biscotti, so we should be at 6 energy currently, because we did go second. So, going to be using the grade 2 Kheios skill there. Just going to be soul charging 1. It is a trigger unit, so it looks like that's going to enable us to draw, which would be good because we are kind of looking for pieces here. But unfortunately, it looks like we drew into a trigger there. So we're just going to be proccing the Kheios' skill there, counterblasting 1, discarding card, changing the top 3. You do get to add 1, put 1 to soul, and call 1 to board. Looks like we got a pretty decent top deck there. I think the choices are pretty clear, right? You add the order, you call the ride skipper, and then you put the Kheios into the soul. Now you have, what is that, 4? You have the grade 1, 2, and the Neo grade 3, so that's 3. So when you play the order, you can counterblast 1, check top 5, and since you do have the 3 Kheioses in name, you would be able to put 3 cards. It looks like we are going to go ahead and go for our own ride skipper first, which is definitely the correct play. I can't believe I just didn't think about that, to just superior ride into the, you know, the other Kheios, the upgraded Kheios, which doesn't have a nickname because I don't remember what his little name is. Maybe I'll come up with one when we see it on flash on screen. But for now, we're just going to be riding it. It is an optional Soul Charge 3. Not sure how many names we're at here, but we might actually have to go for that Soul Charge 3. But yeah, it looks like we are going to be going for it. So his name is S.O. Soul Ontario, or Ortinario. So his name is S.O. Sword Art Online Kheios. As we do Soul Charge the 3, not really the greatest there. I think we saw 2 triggers go into the soul there, which is a little unfortunate. But we still do get an added card. Looks like we're just going to be adding a front, just counting up, you know, the triggers that we have, or not the triggers, the names that we have. But we do actually have access to, like, what is it? We have 4 Kheios names, so when we play the order, we can put 4 cards. Also, we're going to be calling out another copy of the Ride Skipper, putting it in, using its skill from the Bind Zone to put it into drop, and then just Soul Charge, which is kind of unfortunate. We Soul Charged a heal trigger there. I'm going to be playing the order there, so we look at top 5, and we choose any number of cards among them. We choose up to 4 because I believe we have 4 Kheios names currently. We got the 4 Kheios names, and then we're just gonna be counting out the cards there, putting just the 2 triggers back. We did see double Makani there, 1 grade 1 and 1 grade 3. The order does also allow you to call out a Makani, and then, well, it doesn't call out a Makani, it calls out a card, and then it gives a Makani 10k. So you're obviously going to be calling out the Makani, putting the other 2 triggers back. That order is just pretty good in the sense, you know, you just deck thin, literally just choose all the normal units, put them into soul, and then put all your triggers back. So your chances of hitting triggers just go up exponentially. Of course, we do get to call the card. We're going to be calling, of course, the Makani, what else, and then giving it the 10k from the order's skill. We don't really have the second Makani, which is kind of unfortunate. We don't even have one in Soul, which is like, huh? like I guess also deeply unfortunate. But looks like we're going to be using a skill of the Aga Manath from the Soul. You discard a card, call it out. I think it gets boost, and then you Soul Charge 1, and then its on-play skill allows you to counterblast 1, check the top 2, add 1 to hand. I think the other to Soul or something like that. You guys saw it on screen. But, you know, Kheios definitely using, you know, all of that CB that I got during the last turn. Very, very powerfully. Not sure how many cards we have in Soul. I'm just going to assume that we are already there. Looks like that order is going to go into Soul. Unfortunately, I think we already do have a copy in the Soul, so it's not really going to count towards our name count. You can definitely see Joshua counting how many cards we have in Soul there. But we're going to go ahead and I guess we're going to be using the Quen Lu here, putting it Soul, probably giving the Guard Restrict to, of course, that Makani, because, you know, you're going to be attacking twice with it, and just having Guard Restrict on it is insanely good here. But, you know, it does come at the cost that other column's not really swinging for that much. But, of course, we can use the Kheios skill here, binding the other Kheios, in order to give all of our units an extra 10k, because I think we do have the 13 in Soul. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and the thing they're forgetting is Kheios 13. Yeah, so it is 13. Anyways, we are going to give you that 10k to the entire board, and, you know, these swings aren't like the best, but, you know, there is definitely the possibility of, you know, finishing things this turn, although I don't think it's really that feasible. Looks like we're taking the Makani attack going up to 4, swinging the Vanguard for a 23 2 damage, restanding the Makani, basically just for free. So you just need 8 cards. So we're going to be PGing that, drive checking, nothing, and then a critical trigger there, probably giving all the effects to the Makani, so it is a lethal swing with all the power, that 18k boost, the 35 base, but looks like we're going to be swinging with the 20k first, actually, which is definitely the correct play, because you want to get rid of as much shield as possible. Basically, you're just getting out another 20k shield, because they are going to have to hard guard this Makani, and this Makani is swinging for lethal. So the Obfuscate is just going to go down, and we're swinging 51, and we're going to be blocking it with 2 fronts and a critical trigger. Wow. Those of you that have seen the Ava Prison match, that must be deja vu. Anyways, that is going to be the end of Kheios this turn. Unfortunately, they weren't able to finish things there, and they are in a little bit of a weaker position, but we still do have, I think we have 2 PGs in hand, so it might not be the end of the world, like, playing this. But anyways, going into our turn, we do start off with that blue research lab and allow us to actually call an Obfuscate off the top, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. That's going to make us have at least 2 Obfuscate swings with the extra crit pressure, using the Imgar to, of course, call itself out, calling it behind the Obfuscate that does have the crit. Not sure if we have another Imgar, and because we do probably want to ride into a Pip Ava here. Actually using the Ava skill here, Karen blasting 1 in order to check top 4, calling another Imgar from hand, and then using that Imgar to go into the Pip Ava. Definitely the correct play, because, you know, that other Imgar that we got back from the drop zone does have an extra 2k on it, which means it is a 10k booster, so that is the one you definitely want to just keep on board to help you make those magic numbers. But of course, pulling out, I think this is probably the last blue research lab. Surely they don't play 40 cards, or not 40 cards, 4 copies of that card. But since we didn't actually ride this turn, we do actually activate the Persona Ride ability of the Pip Ava, as we are going to be just using the blue research lab, giving the extra 5k to that Obfuscate column. Going to be making it a really massive power here, as we swing this other Obfuscate for just a 33, still a pretty decent number. This is one of the attacks that's kind of safe to take, but if you do take this attack, it makes it that much harder to just, like, tank the Vanguard swing. So it looks like we are going to be taking it, hoping on defensive, and we do actually hit a defensive there, which is actually pretty good. Getting the extra 10k to the Vanguard is going to be meaning that it is that much easier to guard this Vanguard swing, but it looks like we're just going to be PGing it, not taking any risks there. But of course, being at 4 does mean that we literally have to guard these other 2 Obfuscate swings, otherwise, you know, it's just GG's here. We are kind of benefited by the fact that one of them is a little bit smaller. Ooh, but I guess I gotta change my mind because like we just flipped over a critical trigger there, and that critical trigger is going to be adding an extra 10k to that other obfuscate, meaning that both of these obfuscates are going to be swinging for the exact same number, because one of them has a trigger and one of them has a an extra 10k boost, which is effectively trigger. But one of them is swinging for 3 damage, the other is swinging for 2. So if you can't guard both of these, you have to take the one that has 2 damage, which is of course this other column over here. Just calculating it out, let's see, what is it? It's like 28k base, 38 with 10k boost. This is going to be 48 for 2 damage. We do have the PG there, but we do have to manage to guard this. Looks like we do have enough of the intercept. We have the Biscotti. We have 2 triggers. That should be enough to guard that attack, and then we can just PG the final strike there. Looks like we're going to be calling out the front trigger there. We're going to be putting us at 43. I did forget about the trigger there, calling with the Biscotti and then intercepting. It's going to allow us to draw another card. Swinging this obfuscate for 43, going to be met with that PG. Oh, looks like we're going to actually save the PG since it is just a 30k guard, and just guard with the 2 triggers, keeping it just in case we're not actually able to close things out during this turn, which you kind of do need to do. Ava does only have 6 cards in hand, and I think 2 of them are perfect guards, but at the same time, perfect guards don't really mean a lot to Kheios, because Kheios, you have Makani, you have Quenlu, PGs can't do anything. The bigger problem, honestly, is those Makanis there. Not Makanis, wrong glitter partner. Obfuscates there, which are the 10k intercepts. So that is honestly the biggest problem here, because like, assuming we can get double Quenlu, the PGs aren't going to really make much of a difference. But we do see, of course, we had the Ride Skipper there from the last turn, and we are going to be soul charging. Unfortunately, soul charging a crit and an over trigger there. And then, of course, since we didn't actually ride this turn, we are going to be able to activate Persona Ride after we finish resolving the Kheios' skill, allowing us to add a card from our soul to our hand and then call out another card. But of course, another thing that's pretty unfortunate here is that we only have 1 Makani in the soul, as we're going to be calling out the Quenlu there, and then of course just activating the Persona right there. So what we really need to do, we do have the grade 1 Makani here, so we do have access to at least 1 Makani, so we're just be putting it to soul and then calling out that grade 3 Makani. Alright, so hopping back in, basically what happened, there was a huge cut there because me, Steven, and Joshua were all trying to figure out what the most optimal play was here, and we landed on basically just playing the order card to check the top 6 cards, or top 5 out of our 6-card deck, and we put the last 2 Makanis in. The thing we're talking about is like whether we should have Soul Charge off of the grade 1 Makani there. We decided not to because we would have seen the second Makani anyway. So we're left with, what is that, 3 cards left in deck. So this is and has to be the final turn here, as I believe we only have 1 Quenlu there on one of the Makanis. But we do have the double Makani, and that other Makani is also at plus 10k thanks to the trigger. So first Makani is going to be swinging for 33. Theoretically, you could just PG this. I think this is the one without the guard restrict, but at the same time, they are still hitting pretty big, and the one with guard restrict is probably the most threatening one. But having 2 PGs does mean that this is theoretically survivable. So we're gonna go ahead and just make some calculations, and I'll probably see you guys once we figure out the most optimal way to guard. Okay, so this first Makani is going to be guarded with a trigger as well as an intercept from Obfuscate for 38. This second swing is going to be hit for a 45 guard restrict. That, of course, is going to be hitting to a no defensive there. Vanguard is going to be PG'd here, discarding the blue research slab. We're going to drive check 1. That's going to be a draw trigger, which is going to put us that much closer to deck out. But we do have to think about where we want to put this extra 10k. We're going to give it to the Makani with the guard restrict, and the second check is going to be just a PG. So that Makani is going to be staying at its, whatever it was before. Swinging this other Makani for 38, going to be PG'd for a PG. That's going to be, met with that. And then we're going to swing for 66 at the Vanguard. 1 card left in hand. You cannot guard this with a perfect guard from your hand. This is a 66k power. So we're going to be guarding with OT, intercepting with Obfuscate, and with one card left in deck, that is going to be the end of the match. And the last card was a heal trigger, which means that if Joshua had managed to actually get 2 triggers there, that would have actually been his win, because his Makani would have been at 76, which couldn't be guarded by both the Obfuscate and the Overtriggers, as that would have only been 73. But that is going to be the end of the match. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to do those things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.